So sorry about the... How about that one? How about that one? Maybe that one's going to work. Hey, YouTube, sorry about that. Like I said, as I was just telling everybody, no sound on YouTube because of the serious Windows update that went down last night until this morning sometime. I don't know, but I got it before the show, which I normally don't do. But I took advantage and said, you know what, we're going to do that. So, there's that. I had something else for my fellow podcasters. What was it? I did not write it down, so I don't remember. Maybe it'll come back to me. Maybe it won't. Anyways, welcome to this evening's this episode of the Malliard Report. Trying to get better about that kind of stuff. With the new intro. Trying to make this commitment to excellence. Okay, so everybody's wondering what is going on. So am I. Not really. Actually, I know what's going on. I had a guest lined up for the night, and a couple days ago, it just kind of, you just know it's starting to fall apart. So this afternoon, I spent a few hours trying to find somebody else, and it just never, ever came together, which is fine. Yep, still making those adjustments here in the studio. Wow, I'm doing better now. Okay, so literally walking up to showtime, trying to find people to come in. So what we're going to do, live calls, you know the number by now, 234-738-2552. Also I want to mention, since I played the new music, you got to stay tuned to the end of the show for duckpond.shop's special promo code. It is in tonight's outro music. Pay attention. Save yourself some money. Anyways, we are back. Let's focus in here. Let's get on to the night. What is going on in the world tonight? So, I asked myself this question about 5 minutes ago. Well, I guess it is more than 5 minutes ago. Probably about 10 minutes ago. Because I locked in on live calls. And I said, what is going on in the world tonight? So, what I did was, just for the sake of remedying the situation, because I was quite confused this afternoon a little bit, so I said, you know what I need to do? I need to sit down and read what's going on in the news today, because I really don't know. And I opened CNN.com. Now, before you hate me, I have Fox News open in a different tab. We're just going to kind of run the comparison right now, because as I've been telling people and doing with these live call shows, is documenting moments in time. Not only my opinion, but your opinion as well. So if you want to call in, feel free to 234-738-2552. Because right now, I think we're at a pivotal moment in this process. Maybe it's just because it's Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern when we go live that I feel this way. But I think being a couple weeks into this process now, I think we're at this point where it's at a tipping point. And I'm not sure if it's going to be, if we're not going to have another one of these. And of course, and the first Tuesday in December, gang, get ready for this. I'm starting Malliard Party. I've actually got the domain, Malliard.party. We are starting our own political party here in the program. Why? Why not? A, because we can. B, because why not? And C, because I think there is a lot of universal ideas that get overlooked all the time. So that's what we're going to kind of do. So, here we go. So that's in a couple weeks. Tonight, we're just documenting this moment in time. So, for those ideas, keep those ideas coming because, man, there's a lot going on in the world today. So, I opened CNN.com. I was getting back to that from a few minutes ago. Trump fires Homeland Security official Chris Cables. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. The director of cybersecurity and infrastructure security rejected the president's conspiracy claims. Okay. And there's that. A lot of stories about Trump on the page there. Lindsey Graham there as well on CNN. Republicans temporary block certification of Detroit's voters. Here's the first non-political story. Missing 9-year-old boy is found in the woods after spending 2 nights lost in the woods without no shoes or jacket. Now, that's an interesting one. That kind of reminds me of David Pilates from a couple years ago, the missing 411 author, who is still and will be one of the greatest interviews of this program's history. Germantown Runner pops up in the chat room. Fox News Channel's ratings are in a free fall. Tucker, Hannity, and Ingram are the only ones in the top 10. This is unheard of. See, Germantown Runner, you just made my point. Not that I'm a liberal or a conservative. I'm obviously a card-carrying independent. That's why I'm here. That's why I want to bring this voice to you all tonight. That's why I didn't want to start with CNN, but I know the audience that I have leans towards Fox. So we're going to flip the browser right now. I've got a few other tabs open here. But this one doesn't surprise me. Big bullet headline with a picture of my governor, Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania. Nanny states... Man, there's so many ads on this page. It's hard to do. There we go. Democratic governor imposed new COVID restrictions, including what you can do in your own home. If you have not heard. Now, see, the headline is a little misbiased. If you have people coming in your home that aren't normally in your home, you're supposed to wear your mask in Pennsylvania. So, I get it. I understand the theory behind it, but I think there's going to be some bump back to that. Of course, our neighbor to the west, Ohio governor, has issued a 21-day curfew to combat COVID. California waves hello to the sunny west coast. I know I've got a bunch of listeners out there. California official pinpoints one driver as the COVID surge in the Golden State. I guess I should have opened that so I could read it. Tennessee educators are calling for a mask mandate in schools, which I don't know. Also, video of Lindsey Graham giving VP-elect Kamala Harris a fist bump on the Senate floor and a pat on the back, which is interesting because, heaven forbid we actually show good sportsmanship no matter what. Okay. So, those are some of your news headlines tonight, which, like I said, are a kind of variety of what's going on in the world. Which is why I wanted to, like I said, document this night in history, because I want to welcome you to the Malliard Report. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, Jim, it's Rebecca Housel.
How are you doing? I was just thinking about you the other day.
We have a habit of doing that, don't we? I saw that you were doing live predictions for 2021, and I wanted to add to that.
I haven't updated it, but I'm actually doing live calls tonight, so that works anyways. So, go ahead.
Oh, really?
Please.
Oh, okay, great. I was watching you on Facebook, and that's what it said. So.
Yeah, I know. Well, I blame the production staff. We won't mention who the production staff is. We'll just blame them, and I'll give them a stern warning here after the show.
So, what are we talking about? That I was just listening to you actually live on Facebook, or I thought it was live on Facebook, talking about the new restrictions.
Yeah, it is live on Facebook.
Hello, everybody.
It is the video's right. The title isn't.
Okay, gotcha.
Because I do have this.
You're talking about all the restrictions, though.
Yes.
So is that where we're headed?
Well, I mean, Democratic governors are kind of leading the way and kind of trying to soften the blow. Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
that's why I'm here.
I'm calling in because I think I've done like 15 or so plus courses now from Harvard Medical School specifically on COVID topics. So I thought I would chime in if you wanted to kind of talk more about that, like vaccine development and stuff.
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
What that really means, for people.
Yeah, we're in the process. Like I said, I'm trying to document as much as I can during these call-in shows because there's so much going on. And in 5 years, somebody is going to be out there looking for actual information that was not from either one of the named mainstream media sites that I was out there promoting. Even though I don't promote them, but that's just how they are. So go ahead. Tell us where we are in this process and where you think we are in this process.
Well, I think it's awesome that you're doing this, by the way. That's part of why I called in, because you really are really great at what you do, and you get right to the heart of the matter. And I think that you're very easy to listen to at the same time. So you have a great audience who appreciates all of that about you, as well as so much else. For that audience and for you, I thought I would give a little call in here. So I took a course on the vaccine in the spring, and then another one recently in September. So essentially, the vaccine being called a vaccine makes it sound like it's something akin to the measles, mumps, rubella vaccines that we're used to, chickenpox, things like that. But it's actually not a vaccine in that way. It's more like the flu shot. Not that COVID-19 is like the flu. That's not the case. But the vaccine is actually more like a shot. It's using something totally new called messenger RNA, and that's never been approved before by the FDA because it can, there's like a number of issues that come with that. And one of those issues is that, of course, it doesn't really last very long. So the whole point of this rushed vaccine isn't to prevent the disease from spreading, because it won't. We're not all going to be on the same vaccine cycles, number one. Number two, not everybody will take the vaccine. Number three, the vaccine will only last a few months at a time, and then you'll have to get a second shot. And that will sort of be the way it kind of rolls for people every year until something better comes up. This is just a short-term, like, Band-Aid, if you will, to kind of flatten that curve, continue to flatten the curve, because it doesn't prevent you from getting the disease. It just prevents you from becoming clinically ill. At least that's what they've been trying to develop.
Which makes sense. Again, I don't want to. I know you mentioned not to compare it to the flu, but I'm going to in this broader sense of the issue, because I've already heard some potential mutations to it. So the flu mutates every year. That's why you get an updated flu shot every year. Right?
Yep, that's right. Exactly. No, you got it exactly. It's unfortunately, and Pfizer's product, which caused quite a stir. I mean, it caused a dip in Zoom's stock value for a few days there, because people were like, "Oh, great, we aren't going to have to use Zoom anymore." But that's not true, actually, because this vaccine, again, I can't stress enough how it will not prevent you from getting it. It will just hopefully prevent you from going clinical, which means you won't have total organ failure, things like that. That's happening with this disease to people of all ages. So it's a highly individualized response to this disease. That's part of the difficulty with creating a treatment, because it shouldn't take this long to create things like this. And I'm sure your people out there who who maybe are kind of more into the kind of conspiracy theories. Forbes picked up this story, so it's not a conspiracy theory, but there was a publication in the summertime about how this virus was, of course, created. Was it let out by accident? That is something that China certainly is not saying one way or another, but they're such a powerhouse that nobody can really challenge it or ask for reparations or anything like that. So I think in 2021 is what I was thinking about the predictions for next year. There will be some kind of major reveal, probably regarding exactly what's happened with COVID-19, how it was developed, because we can't figure it out simply because it was created not by nature but by man. And that's something that was verified in multiple medical journals, peer-reviewed medical journals at this point as well, and Forbes picked it up. So it's kind of an interesting situation. It's going to be hard. What you're talking about with the different strains is called antigenic drift. Not shift, which is something else altogether that is also a potential issue with any vaccine. So this is not going to be a cure-all or save us from any of the things we're having to deal with. We will still have to wear masks. We will still have to social distance, because even people that take the vaccine, you could still carry it to others. In fact, you'll be walking around the world thinking that you're safe when you probably have it and are now carrying it to others. So it's, you won't maybe get clinically ill, but you can still carry it to others. See, there's a lot of problems that aren't being talked about because they're just so desperate. People in general are so desperate to get their lives going again, and anything looks good at this point. So does this make sense?
Well, it does, but I don't want it to make sense. Is that a fair correction back to you?
Totally. I don't want it to make sense either. Believe me, I just can't. I'm so upset about it. I feel like there's something really missing in our society if all we want is to have people get back to work, basically, without sharing with the public. Again, this happened, as we all know, this happened earlier in the year, and this is not a political statement. It's just the truth. Do you know that vaccine companies, in fact, the head researcher at Johnson & Johnson, began that research on January 10th. Many of the American research companies like Moderna, Pfizer, etc., were all starting that research as early as January. However, American people did not know really what was going on, frankly, until March. So that's that's kind of suspicious, I feel. Why would they do that, you know?
Definitely unsettling, right? I mean, I'll leave it at unsettling. And the worst part is, like, there's so many details that are just baffling to me. Just, you know, anytime you get into these things, it kind of always gets. It depends on how far you want to get into it. But I want to derail this train because I've got you here, and this is what I do. Germantown Runner says hello first before he screams that at me again.
Oh, hey Dave, how are you? I love you so much.
I don't know if
kisses and shout out to Dave.
I don't know if you know this or not, but he was banned from Twitter, so that's probably why you haven't seen him.
I did not know that. I did notice your absence. But Dave, I hope you're staying safe and well. I just have to tell you that I've become like I've basically embraced the therapist side that I've been, kind of working in that field now for a while, especially because of everything that was going on. So I haven't been on social media a ton, but I definitely was literally just on Facebook scrolling through, and I happened to see this live broadcast. I was like, oh, it's my Jim. I have to contact him. I have to listen in.
Well, thank you. Okay, so, but before I let you off, because I've got to make you do some lighter lifting, I guess it is now. 2020 has been a strange year. That's not breaking news to anybody that's listening to this program. And the impacts will be long-lasting beyond the virus and all this other stuff because of what it has done to entertainment. Now, I'm going to ask you a broad question, right? Because you're the pop culture person around here. What is this? How does this impact pop culture like in 5 years? Because with the slowdown in production and everything, I just see it being we're just starting to notice the ripple of it now because of.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting question. There is filming happening. Like anybody that's a fan of The Voice kind of knows already that they are still going forward with the show, just without the live audience. And also anyone who's a fan of the Great British Baking Show or Bake Off or something. I'm sorry if I got the title wrong. I actually watched the most recent season, and they just basically cloistered everybody. Everybody got tested, and if it were clear, they all just cloistered away in a special place, and then they were doing the filming, and nobody could leave, and they had to agree to it. So that's happening quite a bit. Hallmark Channel, for anybody out there that might be doing what I'm doing and saying, I just need to zone. I need like some nonviolent, happy, ridiculous as it is, movies playing in the background just for background noise. And they're always so happy. A lot of them are newer and have basically been filming the same kind of thing. Or if you notice that a lot of the same people are in these newer movies on channels like Hallmark, Lifetime, etc., it's because they've been cloistering away and they've been reusing the talent as much as they can because they're all just staying together, similar to anybody in any household would do. You just kind of separate from everybody else. We're trying to not spread it since it's just so very, very viral. So in terms of 5 years down the road, what might happen, I really feel like filming is already starting to happen. Things are picking back up. New seasons are going to be released of some people's favorites. I don't know how people feel out there. Maybe I keep thinking about the paranormal audience or the people that may be kind of interested in more of the occult or that kind of thing. Sabrina, the Sabrina show that's on Netflix. It's fantastic. It's like a variation of it. It's kind of comic booky in a way to me. I really sort of liked it. Even though they did rip off the Satanic Temple in LA that I'm connected to, they actually ripped off their statue and were sued by the LA Satanic Temple, and luckily, that was all settled. Anyway, be that as it may, there's going to be a new season, and it's coming out December 21st. So a lot of the stuff, and I did just actually work with the St. Louis International Film Festival on like their most recent kind of entries and events. And this big fear of the director of that was that what kind of entries are we going to be getting? But remember, a lot of the filming had stopped this year for a few months. But obviously, franchises like The Voice are still finding a way to make it work, and we're going to see that more often. I don't think it's going to be like what we saw with like Jimmy Fallon doing, his show from his basement or something. Like that was kind of getting depressing. I mean, I was sort of depressed seeing Zoom, shows on Zoom was like, oh no, this is really not going to work. But I think that there's a lot of material out there and more things are coming out because 2019 things were in the can, as it were. And so we're going to start to see those coming out like now, 2020, end of 2020, beginning of 2021. And we're going to be getting the vaccine. And supposedly Pfizer, I think it said that it was like January or something. So even though it's just really a Band-Aid, it's still going to open up industries for like short periods of time, for however long the vaccine lasts, and they'll still have to cloister, they'll still have to do these different things, but we'll start to feel more normal, quote unquote normal, and that will ripple through the entertainment industry as well. It will not be the same production level. I don't know if anybody out there saw the New Mutants in the drive-in, like me. Was like just one of the only new films out there, and I've been going to the drive-in like every weekend, this whole time, and it was terrible because it was just a collection of what they had shot before the pandemic and they hadn't finished. So it was just terrible. Like they never left this one kind of area because they had shot all the scenes there and then we're going to be moving locations and then that never happened. So terrible.
So I've got two follow-up questions and then I'll get you back out of here because I know you're busy and doing all sorts of fun stuff and all that stuff. But what is the allure of the Hallmark movies? Because Germantown Runner pointed out they're always doing well in the ratings. Like, is it just that happiness, or is there something else that me and him are both missing?
Well, and Netflix also has their. See, this is the thing. It's not just Hallmark movies. I sort of use that as a generic way of describing those kinds of Christmas movies that are popping up everywhere, including on Netflix. Everybody's kind of creating their own, Hallmark-like series of movies and TV shows, and it's very odd to me. I never understood it. I thought that it was frankly, I thought it was for, people who are maybe have experienced more life. I'll put it that way. And we're just sort of looking for some background noise, which is really we're all sort of in that position in a way, where our lives have slowed down so significantly. It's not quite retirement, but we're just home all the time, so when we're limited on what we can do. And so in a lot of ways, our lives sort of are mimicking what our senior or more experienced members of our population, kind of their lives were already like. And like I know that my mother-in-law, who's, in her 80s, that was her big thing, was the Hallmark movies, loves the Hallmark movies because, of course, she doesn't go out a lot anyway. Before she's 86 now, so that's so for decades now, her life has been much slower than it was before all this happened. Before basically she started to retire and things like that, and slow down. So I think that for all of us right now, it's just a matter of having something kind of nice and gentle and happy and looking forward to. It also represents, I don't know if anybody's ever watched them, but I definitely have had them on in the background now. So I could tell you it also looks pretty normal. Life looks kind of normal in these movies in the sense that, people are gathering and, there's family getting together. And when we can't do that, it's really nice to be able to see that, that it can happen, that what life was like, to some degree. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So I'm going to ask you this question now, and then I'm going to ask you whenever I have you back on the show again, because this question is multi-layered, and I know as soon as you hang up, you're going to kick yourself for answering the question the way you did, and you're going to want to expound on it and all this other stuff. And like I said, it's going to be it's going to be changing
Another show.
So just so you know, I don't expect this to be your final answer. I expect it to be tonight's answer. Is that a fair way of preferencing this question as hard as I can?
Totally. No, I got it.
You mentioned Fallon recording in his basement. You mentioned these actors being stuck in a pod and used in 5 or 6 movies at a time, just as production allows. I think I've seen the statistic that either 250 or 300,000 podcasts had started since March because people were home and have extra time. So there's this wave of new media, but there's also this drawback because people aren't, they're not filming at the normal rate, so new actors aren't getting necessarily that opportunity to be in movies, et cetera, et cetera. But on the other hand, people are getting their voice out there in a different direction. So I guess my question for you is this a pivot point for some of these things to shine, or some of these things to lose some value?
I think it's a little of both. Just for the purposes of right now answer, I think it's going to be a little of both. And it's a shame because podcasters, there's more time, and people are definitely picking up on that and trying to do something positive with their time, which is great. But at the same time, in terms of listeners, there's only so many of us out here that have. I'm still working. I'm working harder than ever because of what I do and what's happening right now. As you know, my schedule is like crazy. So, in fact, I just finished for the day, like not long ago. So, I just think that there's like a limited number of people out there that can listen. And so there's maybe new content, but like, it's almost like the tree falling in the forest. If nobody's there to see it, like really happen, like who's listening to this new content and who's really out there, like people like you who are already established. I think you have a big advantage there, outside of any celebrity, obviously, who has like social media that, with like millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers at the very least, that can kind of promote themselves, or someone like that promoting a new podcast. I think the limitations in terms of like the entertainment world, just to keep it brief, is just what it is, and it will eventually even out. What's really going to happen in terms of COVID, it's going to change pretty much everything, is not so much the vaccine. It's going to be when technology and treatment, when those two things, technology and treatment, those are going to be the game changers. People have to focus on that. Technologies like in Thailand, for example, when you walk into a store there, they have technology set up where it automatically takes your temperature and it can detect if you're wearing a mask or not. So if your temperature is higher than it should be and you're not wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, you get stopped. You can't go any further. That's the beauty of technology that we haven't even started to employ here in the States. So I see all kinds of things happening in the future. Ionizations at the door, UV lighting. There's going to be a number of variations of ways to kind of kill germs on people as they walk through a doorway or detect any kind of illness from people. There's also now new research about blood type and how certain blood types are more prone to getting the illness, to getting COVID-19 and to becoming clinically ill. For example, people that are O negative, even though it was easier for you all to get the flu, and certainly you can only get blood transfusions from O negative, people with O negative, whereas people with A blood type can get AB, they can get O negative. We also could kind of fight off the flu virus much easier. This for COVID, it's kind of now that there's been 8 months of research to kind of look at here, it appears as though people with O negative, really don't, not that they don't get it, I can't say that, but they don't get it as often, and when they do get a positive, they're typically asymptomatic and very rarely, if ever, clinically ill. However, people with type A and AB do tend to get COVID and get it in a way that requires hospitalization, perhaps. So that's just something that, these are things that we keep learning more and more because of the newness of all this. There's more and more information. So as we learn more, there's going to be a treatment that will evolve, technology will evolve, and those will be the game changers, and that will change things in entertainment as well, which I would guess a lot of these new kind of upstarts in the podcasting world will also pretty much, have a quick end. As quickly as they began, I would guess they would end because life will start to get back to somewhat of a normalcy after the vaccine. And the moment treatments and technology kind of catch up with the situation, we're gonna have much closer to what we remember as normal. 2019 and kind of backwards from there will kind of start to resemble that a little bit. Maybe still wearing masks, perhaps still doing some social distancing, but life will get a little bit more resemble closer to what we had prior to March of 2020.
And just for the fun, for your sake, most podcasts fail within the first 30. Just for the record.
Oh, perfect. That's great. Goodbye competition.
it's staggering. I seen that the other day. Like 70% of podcasts fail within the first 30 because of the
commitment. I think a lot of it has to do. Yeah, go ahead.
Because of the commitment, and there's not enough listeners. Oh, yeah. So.
Exactly, and it's frustrating. Jim, not everybody is like you. You put together this thing, and it's just remarkable how you get people information, why you do it. The whole thing is frankly, the moment I heard your show the first time, which was now 7 years ago, or was it 8 years ago? It was a long time ago. The first time I heard your show, I was like, this is pure magic. This guy is magic.
And I like to believe the show. I like to believe the show's a lot better now than it was then too. So that's just my opinion. Of course, I believe next week's show is going to be better than this week's show, just because that's how it is.
Well,
not because of you, just because it stacks upon itself and continues to grow. That's all. Not because of you.
No, absolutely. No, I agree with you, and I do think your show, as it's evolved and grown, and as you've evolved and grown, it really has also really shown that kind of tremendous expansion in that way. The guests that you've had on, tremendous guests. I mean, I was just riveted when I was listening to Jesse Ventura. You've had some Roger Stone. You've had some incredible, I mean, more people than I can even kind of recall right now, but a lot of really great guests. And those are just a few examples of people that I've been blown away. So it's pretty remarkable.
I've been doing a couple other podcasts just trying to pick up that momentum again to do some guest stuff. And, that's kind of that worst case question, and it's come up all the time. Who's been your favorite guest? And I always quickly rebut, well, who's your favorite child? It is seriously like that. I wanted to flippantly say my next one, but that's kind of, I don't think that's fair either, so.
Well, no, probably not. But I think that's the beautiful part about what you do. You are really equitable, and I know that a lot of your listeners, politics is pretty important. I'm talking to you, Dave. Politics is really important to a lot of your listeners, and I think that you do that so beautifully. You're able to really just kind of be that good source of information. You're very balanced in how you approach things, and I appreciate that tremendously, and I'm sure all your listeners do as well. Oh, did you hear the Boston come out there? I totally dropped my R.
I was going to say, so Dermot Runner's got one more question, and then I'll let you go, because I promised you that 10 minutes ago, and now we're into this. He wants to know.
I'm fine. Well, I'm happy. I can call it in. I'm in it to win it. In for a penny, in for a pound.
Well, I think there's some other people that want to get for it too, so we're going to give them the opportunity. But what? I can't imagine. When are you putting the Christmas trees up? Germantown Runner wants to know.
Oh well. Oh wow, that's already happened. I have more.
Already happened?
Yeah. It has.
In November, please.
Oh, can I tell you, the lights are up around my house.
Which
there
makes
are
sense.
blow-up
I'll give you the lights up.
all over my yard.
I'll give you the lights up outside.
I've got the Bumble. I've got Christmas balls out there shining like disco balls. It's crazy. It's like a whole thing because of the kids in the neighborhood. I kind of wanted to do something fun for them. So, that's already happened, Dave. I've got a gingerbread village.
You avoided
the fireplace.
You avoided the question, though, in November, right?
Oh, I did?
These weren't up before Halloween, right? Because we have to have a discussion.
No. Okay. They weren't. What really happened was we happened to have a stretch of really good weather. So I was like, oh, this is the week.
Yes,
Let's get everything going.
Yeah, I dug a bunch of my Christmas stuff out of the garage and kind of put it in position to be ready to go up. I didn't get it up though, but nevertheless.
Yeah, I definitely had to do it. And this year, every year I design a new tree, and this year is a white tree. It's a white tree, not for any like racism or anything like that. It just happens to be a white tree. Actually, I said that out loud. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I put up a white tree. Well, in the past, I put up like rose gold trees, and like I got like every year I design a new tree. One year I did. This is for Dave actually. I did a Dr. Seuss tree. Yes, one year I did a Dr. Seuss tree, and it was after Dave sent me basically one of the Dr. Seuss books, and so that was part of that. That was part of why I did that. And this year I'm doing a white tree because I'm doing a unicorn tree. That's why. That's why it's a unicorn, but it represented as a Christmas tree. So don't judge me.
So I'm trying to
doing whatever.
No, I'm not judging you. I'm just trying to keep up with his comments in the chat room so I can read them back to you, because I think that's what I need to do at this point.
No.
I put up my artificial tree at the Friday after Thanksgiving. I put my real one up in the mountains at the tree farm the first week in December. The mini tree in the back screened-in deck goes up the same week. I've already put one up outside with 4,000 lights. Okay.
I love it. Let's all do this. Like massive amount of lights, and I just keep getting more and more stuff. I'm now adding a mailbox to Santa for the kids, and like I just keep getting more and more and more. I can't stop because it's too fun. I'm doing like a little candy cane trail. We got to do it. We just have to have fun this year, because what else can you do?
Okay. So this is just coming to me now, and I haven't figured out how we're going to figure this out, but we're going to have to do it because we have to do it, because I think this is the way we need to do this. It's 2020. Best Christmas display that gets sent to me. I want to put them up on the website. We're going to have people vote. I don't know how we're going to do this, but I'll figure this out. And then the winner gets something.
I love it, Jim.
Just off the cuff. Great idea. So stay tuned.
I love it.
So I know I've already got two contestants, one on the phone and one in my chat room. And I'd love to just see the battle royal between the two of them, but I think there's some other great Christmas displays out there in podcast land and listening live who aren't even mentioning how good their display is going to be. So I'll figure this out. Stay tuned for the Christmas 2020 special. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
The battle royale, the Christmas decor like battle royale. I love that. We're just gonna go for it, because why not? There is literally nothing else to do.
The best idea I've had for 2020 is going to be at Christmas time. I don't even know. Like I said, I'll figure out the details.
Absolutely. I mean, Hallmark movies.
Yeah. So if your house looks like a Hallmark movie or belongs in a Hallmark movie, we'll figure this out.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for taking my call, and I hope everybody stays safe and has a great holiday season. And you too, Jim. I miss you and the kids, and I miss you all. Tabby too. I miss you guys. So I hope you guys have a great holiday season, a terrific Thanksgiving, and stay safe.
You too, and we'll catch up again at some point. I know you've been busy, and I've just been busy for me, which is that tells you something, doesn't it?
Well, we do catch up. We know each other outside of this, so we do catch up and check in, and all that is really good. So I know we often talk like right around Thanksgiving too. So I'm sure we will chat it up again, and I'll be listening every Tuesday.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Have a good evening. Go put your feet up.
You too. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, so Christmas contest just announced. I've got to figure that out, but we're going to do that. We're going to vote. I don't even know the show before Christmas. Maybe we'll do something that night. I'm looking at my calendar now. So, because now I'm just preoccupied by this, so this show is going to drive itself. So somebody else wants to call in. The 22nd is the show before Christmas. So, going to need your entries before then. Maybe I'll run them on the YouTube and the Facebook and all those places with some way to vote live that night. So the what did I just say? 22nd? We'll resolve this one way or the other via live video. I think that's the way to go. Tonight. It might change, but I think that, so you're going to have to get me those pictures. We'll do live video that night. We'll do live calls again that night. And we'll Brian Parsons in the chat room just said his top 10 paranormal stories for 2020 review night over at King Radio Network. So he'll be doing that at 8, and then we'll be coming on here. We'll have the picture images with some sort of voting system. If it's letters or numbers, we'll figure that out. I'll figure that back end stuff out. Winner gets a prize. I don't know what yet. We'll figure that out as well. And then we'll do live calls at night as well, because I want to. And we're going to do, let's see, I've got political parties coming up. Well, the Malliard party coming up. Let's do favorite Christmas memory that night. I think that'd be a good time. We'll get into holiday spirit together that night. And we'll talk about Christmas and or some other holiday story. If you're not a fan of Christmas, we'll just kind of open that up a little bit to birthdays and any other holidays you want to throw out there. If you got a great childhood memory or a great 2020 memory from a holiday this year, we'll do that in December. But tonight, here we go. We've got, what have we got? 17 minutes left. Got to look at the right clock. Actually, we've got less than 17 minutes left because there's outro music tonight, everybody. Okay. Sorry. A little annoying there. I'm so excited for you guys to hear that outro. And plus, remember, stay tuned for your discount code for duckpond.shop or duckpondshop.com. Yikes. I had the option to buy Duck Pond Shop, but, didn't do it because cheap. Okay. So let's get back to where we were. I should ask her about this. Conan O'Brien ends his long run in the late night for a new show on HBO Max. That's interesting to me. Is it, though? Because you look at Dave Letterman, Jay Leno finally exited. That's kind of becoming the new format for these guys who have a little brand equity, right? Guys that we could, Rebecca was kind of mentioning around, throwing around punching podcasters out. They're going to these TV shows, so stay tuned for that. So there's all that. My internet browser just went white, which is not helpful. At all. At all. Okay, so I wanted to bring these up as well. Earlier on, as we're kind of documenting tonight, November 17th, excuse me, I was looking at the date in pneumatic form. Just kind of trying to document, we've got some Wayne County, Michigan debate issues. They're gridlocked on their stuff. Let's see, did it take the call? Yes, it did. Welcome to the Malliard Report.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I don't recognize the voice. Normally I do. So go ahead. Who are you?
This is Scooter with the Scooter and the Preacher Man podcast.
Oh, cool.
I wanted to follow up with you because I see you've been kind of pushing our stuff out there, and we've been trying to do the same with you, and we kind of started checking you out. So just thought I'd follow up with you and call in on your show tonight, Jim.
Well, thank you for calling in. Yeah, I've been trying to. How many? Okay, so I'm going to ask you. Your podcast is fairly new. I've been trying to help out newer podcasters. I don't know how new your podcast is off the top of my head because I've been doing it for a bunch of shows, but I know you guys are newer. Yeah,
I think we just put out episode 64.
So you've beat that 20 hump that I was just talking about a little bit ago. I don't know if you were here for that or not.
We have, yeah. I was all night, yeah.
So go ahead and give my listeners a little bit about your show, so if they're interested in it, they can go check it out. I'll give you some time.
Oh, goodness. Free plug, eh?
Yeah. You gotta get good at this if you're going to be around for a while. So.
Well, absolutely. No, and it's been it's been over a year now. I mean, a year and a half that we've been doing this. It's we cover daily events. I mean, similar to what you're doing. We kind of just try to stay in the local current events, but we also cover what's going on around the country and sometimes around the world. I mean, anything from pop culture to current news stories to a little comedy. Probably one of the biggest things that stands out to a lot of our listeners is our deep dives. We're very focused in the music side of things, so a lot of music involved in our show. With two completely different perspectives. My co-host, which unfortunately is not here tonight, is very much into the the harder rock, the metal, that type of thing, and I'm kind of more of a all around new wave, punk, alternative rock, that kind of guy. So it's that's we do cover a lot of music, but yeah, current events and what's going on today and what's happening in our world. Which there's nothing happening in our world right now, right?
Well, it depends on who you ask, right? If you look at, like, I was reading the news really early in the show, and it's kind of like, oh, not much, doesn't seem like. Which is fun,
depends. Right? Yeah, it's all a matter of perspective, right? Depends on which bubble you're hiding in or being forced into these days, right?
Yeah, and here's the fun thing, right? I was just kind of running down through the Twitter trends just because I was just documenting and trying to get this out there. Number 12 on the U.S. Twitter trends right now. Do you have any guess? Don't look. Don't cheat. Just guess.
No, I won't cheat. I won't. I was just reaching for the mouse too. You caught me. No, I don't. I don't know what the current Twitter tweeted twins are.
Number 12 is MySpace.
Really?
People. Okay, so I actually was reading this afternoon because this just gets me, right? Because that was the first quote unquote social network and all this other stuff, and then everybody just kind of left, right? And now we all kind of have this great memory of how great it was. And because Twitter put out their stories today, which is just another copy of Facebook and Instagram, and they're all kind of merging together, right?
As they all sit in front of the Judiciary Committee today, right?
Yeah, I'm like, no, we don't share secrets. We just share code.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's no secrets in there whatsoever.
But the one I wish I could remember who it was, because I'd love to give credit for this, but of course that was 6 hours ago, and I didn't think to save it because I didn't think I was going to bring it up tonight. Everybody remembers MySpace so well, but here's what we really missed: the custom backgrounds, which are simple, right? You get your custom pictures up there and your profile song. Now you just mentioned music. Now profile song is king, and I don't know. Obviously I know why, because there would be money involved. Why we don't have those anymore.
Agreed. Yeah, the copyright game and all that stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. But you're right, and that was huge for, especially, I remember the MySpace thing with bands. Every band had a MySpace page. Every starter band, and even a lot of the professional bands had a MySpace page. That was the big thing for bands to get the exposure. Put your cover song out there. Put your original stuff out there. That's your page.
Yeah, and I think bands did very well. Obviously not all of them. I guess I shouldn't assume that all of them did well. But I think there was a few that really did well and have generated more out of that. Of course, I guess that's true of all social media now. But I think MySpace, as the joke goes, is what we're looking back on it more fondly than it was. But I think there's some truth to that. We should have been more careful before we all fled to Facebook.
You're absolutely right. And I look at and again, we just had this conversation probably not even a week ago, myself and the preacher man. Facebook has become, with what we do, it's become a necessary evil where I think you said which I'll never find you on there because I won't go look there, but I believe you're on Facebook Live right now.
Yes.
But we gave up on it. It's just become such filth anymore that I can't force myself to play the game anymore. And Twitter's not far behind it. And we all know what Google's doing.
They dropped Google Plus.
So you're right.
They dropped Google Plus. What are they doing? No.
Nothing at all. You don't end up in front of the in front of the government if you're doing everything correctly, do you? I haven't been there yet. I don't know.
I was gonna say, so far so good. I haven't been subpoenaed yet, so
check in next year, right?
Start my defense fund now, probably, because I'm probably going to end up there at some point.
Yeah, it has become a filthy mess, and there has to be a better outlet. And you're right. MySpace was absolutely a different animal than what we've seen these days, and it really has evolved into something that I don't know if anybody likes anymore. I hear more and more people saying, I'm canceling my account and I'm taking a month-long break and just, getting myself away from that stuff because it's just become a sewage hole.
So I guess the question is, now we're kind of here. All right, I see Parler popping up in the duck pond quite a few times and all these other things.
I've heard about it.
And, I mean, there's so many of them, right, that are trickling around. And everybody's like, follow me here. And of course, then you go over and look, and they've only posted once, and that was 2 weeks ago when they created the account, which is great. But if I'm going to follow you there, and we're all going to move there, you have to be active there.
Correct.
It make me want you to be there. As the waters kind of spread out again, are we ever going to see another major player?
That's a fair question, and I don't know the answer to that either. And Parler stood out to me just for the one thing that stood out to me that I heard about Parler, and I haven't done the deep dive on it yet. But the one thing that stood out to me about Parler is instead of having quote unquote big tech monitor the whole thing, they're saying it's strictly an initiative by the users to decide who they censor and who they don't. But that becomes a tough road to hoe because you're going to have an equal amount. It's going to be one of those things as we've seen in the U.S. I believe you're in Canada, right, Jim?
No, I'm in the U.S.
Oh, are you in the U.S.? Okay.
I get that Canadian thing a lot, so that's okay.
Yeah, something triggered that I thought we saw something you were in Canada, but at any rate, I mean, as we've seen, we're 50-50 right now. So how is that going to work from Parler's standpoint? Is if they have 50% of the people that say, scrub that person, and they have 50% of the people that say keep that person. I mean, is it going to be really a true? How's that going to work? I'm just curious to see how it evolves and where it goes from here.
So I'm going to dive you off because somebody else was trying to call in, so I'm going to try to squeeze them in. But give me the link for the podcast again, because that's what I want to do for you.
So the easiest way is, we're obviously on Twitter and Facebook, but the easiest way is our website, which is Two Guys. Is spelled right out, 2guysandabottle.com. And you can find us on the website, and we'll make sure we get back with you again. Hopefully next time I'll have my co-host with me, and we'll chat further.
Yeah, I was gonna say we need to actually sit down and do a full show at some point. Either one.
We should. Yeah, we should. We'll set that up and exchange emails and so on and so forth. But I'll get out of here and let you finish out your show. But good talking to you. I've been looking at you for a few weeks now, and I wanted to make sure I checked in. So
I'm sorry you've been looking at me. That's too bad for everybody. Have a good.
I haven't seen your face yet, so don't worry too much. But I have found your website.
Oh, okay. Have a good day.
So no, I appreciate the time, and
yep. Actually, just cut him off a little short because I wanted to get this call up while it was still ringing. Sorry about that, Scooter. Sorry. Welcome to the Malliard Report. May I ask who's calling tonight? Because it didn't even ring, so I don't know who. I mean, I answered it.
Hey, Jim. This is Chuck Banks. How you doing?
Chuck, how are you doing?
Hey, not doing too bad. Hey, sorry, I didn't mean to knock your caller off. That's
okay. I wanted to get. I didn't know who was there, so I wanted to make sure I got you in. So go ahead. Let's go. What you got?
No, anyway, I'm just calling in tonight, Jim, to give you full props, man. I've been listening to your stuff a long, long time. You know that, and you and I have been great friends. And there's just a lot of you look at 2020, and you turn around and you think just when you think things can't get worse, they do. It's just been a crazy year.
It has been. It's been. I think about you often when I'm seeing a story about. Especially, where is it? Miami, the University of Miami, and their COVID outbreak and all this other stuff, and all the sports and all this other stuff right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I myself, my wife, and my kids, we all had COVID. It would have been the second week of the football season. I just took over the football program here at the high school, and we had to go through that. We were quarantined for 2 weeks. Got back together. Looked like we had turned the corner in Iowa, and then, you look at the past month and a half or so, and we're hitting into a pretty serious wave down here. Several outbreaks, an outbreak even where my mom's living, and I think they've lost 6 to 7 lives. So, I mean, this has been a pretty crazy year.
For sure. So, excuse me. Gatorade's almost killing me tonight. That's not good. Are you doing anything? I mean, I know you're a coach. Are you still doing any shows or writing or anything? I see stuff, but I don't know if it's current or what. Are you doing anything right now?
Absolutely. I just released my my 16th book. It's called Hell Comes Home. It's kind of a paranormal thriller. That sort of genre. Still podcasting. With coaching culture and athletics. You can follow us, on Twitter, all the various topics and whatnot, and still rolling. It's been kind of a limping struggle the last month or month and a half, but I'm surviving, man, making it.
Well, Chuck, I appreciate you, and I hate to run you off, but I look at the clock, and it's the 2-minute warning. Well, actually, it's a 1-minute warning now because I have outro music for the first time in months tonight, so I'm so excited.
Phenomenal. Well, I'll get out of here, Jim. I love you, and I appreciate you too, brother.
And have a good evening, Chuck, and stay safe out there.
Hey, you too, brother. All right, bye.
So, I got to thank Chuck and Scooter and Rebecca Helsel, everybody that's been part of this program. Germantown Runner in the chat room. Christmas contest. Boy, I think I've really stepped in it there. This is going to be so much fun. I don't have a clue how we're doing this yet, but we're going to do it the 22nd of December live on this program. Video. So, get ready to vote for the best Christmas display from the duck pond. So, be ready. I'm looking at the clock. I'm not used to looking at this clock. It's kind of edgy. It's kind of different. It kind of feels like the first time. So I don't want to mislead you and promise you all sorts of fun things, but, well, I think we're getting close. So close. I hope you all tune in again next week for the biggest guests in November. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Malliard Report. Stay tuned for details on saving money at the Duck Pond Shop. I hope you enjoyed this report. Please subscribe so that you can join us again. And if you appreciate the show, leave us some stars or a review. For more notes from this show or other great shows, check out Malliard.com. A reminder, the views and opinions of this show are those of the host and guest and do not represent any sponsors, affiliates, or any other partners of the Malliard Report. Now for your money-saving tip. Promo code Malliard at checkout of duckpondshop.com, where you can get your t-shirt, coffee mug, and other great products. That's promo code Malliard at checkout, duckpondshop.com. Until next week, stay safe and keep quacking.